So sometime last month we had a baby, our first child. So before this time we've been going to the hospital, monitoring baby and all to see that everything is fine and we were good. But just minutes into labor, when my wife was about to begin labor proper, we were in the labor room. We lost our baby on the monitor, so he stopped breathing. The emergency buzzer was used. A lot of doctors ran in, did a lot of things, spoke to us, tried everything, see if they would hear baby's heartbeat, but no. And we had to be booked for an emergency CS. We never planned for this, but that was the only option. So they brought out the baby. He was like literally not breathing, nothing. They tried everything. So he was resuscitated, and I was just called to come have a look at him, that I would be going into the NICU. So the next day I went to see the doctor, and she said a whole lot of things, uncomfortable things, scary things, asking about background of epilepsy,
autism,
Down syndrome, autism, if we add all of this in our, and I was like, no, where is this coming from? And that was how we began. He was in the emergency unit for weeks. He was on oxygen, on a lot of things, loads of wires and all. So we were on the altar as usual, and Papa gave this word one day, like every parent that are not happy with their child's situation, wherever their child is, that God is reversing it right now.
Whatever that is making the spirit cry over their children, their heart sour over their children, let it be reversed by mercy.
We keyed into that, because at this point we had nobody to turn to, only God. We keyed into that and we prayed and we did a lot of things. So that day, after Papa's word, they took him for the MRI, and lo and behold, our baby never went back to the NICU. The doctor came and said he had a murmur in his heart, and so it was this day that we were booked for a scan that Papa said we were going to use the mantle 7 times. So we were praying on the fire altar and putting it on, putting it down. So at some point I took it off my head, and unknowingly to me, I put it on our baby's head. At that point, Papa was like, God is reversing it, God is working right now. This boy was asleep. But at that point where Papa said God is working right now, he started making this kind of movement, turning his head left, right. Then I looked at him and I noticed this mantle was on this boy's head. So when I now realized God is working right now, then I was just like relaxed, like, no, this is settled. But after the scan, we were told, well, there's nothing worrisome there. And it was the same doctor that asked us to go for the scan that came back. And in his word, he said, I am surprised I even heard the murmur at first. Like, he was surprised, because obviously everything is fine and all. For the feeding tube, they said they were discussing with us about early discharge and all. That morning was the first time for the 3 weeks that we've been in that hospital, or close to 4 weeks, he has never taken his tube out.
Yes.
That day was the first time he took out his feeding tube.
Yes, with his hand.
He dragged it out. They put it back on him, saying, because we still need to feed him and all. That same day, he still did it. I think they were coming to weigh him to see if he had added weight and all, to see if they could discharge us. He took it off again. And they were like, oh, okay, he doesn't need it, so let's just take it off. And that was how we got discharged without the tube.
Yeah.
And as God will have it, the doctor came again with the MRI scan, and they said there was nothing worrisome. We'll just have to monitor him as he's growing, come back when he's 2. And in fact, they said his brain cells were developing, his brain was developing about 1,000 cells in a minute or something, or in a day, I don't know. So he said he was doing fine. And at the end of the day, we got discharged without tube. Our baby is fine, strong.
Yes.
So we have our evidence.
We have our evidence. This is our evidence.
He's asleep.
He's asleep now.
So we've come to give God the glory and say thank you to Pastor Jerry.
Thank you.
Thank you to Pastor Uguru.
Thank you, Pastor OK, Mommy Eno. Thank you to all the NSPD crew.
Saying amen to the prayers.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
What God cannot do.